Hey, and welcome back to the episode 1 of the ServiceNow webinar and live stream. Today we're going to talk about the general navigation and the ITIL homepage, continuing off on where we discussed in our outline. For those of you that are joining us, this is how you can also join via our YouTube live stream in the direct URL, our Zoom call-in, and if you have any questions that you would like answered on a future episode, to send an email to askservicenow@ucdavis.edu. And if you're curious about what we're going to cover next week, we're going to be talking about filters. So make sure you find some time to tune in on May 10th from 1 to 1:30 for that. As far as this episode goes, we are going to jump immediately into ServiceNow. And you can see here that we're taken to what is called the ITIL homepage. And this is what you're presented with after you log in for the first time. So how do you navigate it? You can see that there are a lot of different buttons and choices. But most importantly, let's first take a look at your user profile up here in the right-hand corner. And let's go into our profile, and you'll see that you have some limited settings here that you can adjust when it feels like it's ready to load it. And right there, the most important thing to talk about is a signature file. Rather than you typing over and over again that you're a manager or a technician or whatever your role is at the university, you can put this information into the signature field. You see that you have all sorts of customization if you want text formatting and bullets and fonts and font colors and images. Anything that's in the signature field will automatically append at the bottom of any additional comment correspondence that you send out when this box is checked. Unfortunately, at this time, it's not possible to have multiple signatures. So if you have multiple roles, you'll want to keep some sort of text file available where you can cycle them out. Once you're done here, you can do an update and exit, and that will take us back to the page we were at before. Now let's talk about the refresh interval. For some people, they're going to use this page as kind of a dashboard, and they want the data to just automatically update at a given interval. And you can see that that is done via the homepage settings, the bottom gear wheel. The default is at 5 minutes. You can turn it off and manually refresh the page, or you can set it at 15, 30, and 1 hour intervals. Goes without saying that you need to be on the internet, connected to some sort of network, either wired or wireless, in order for this refresh interval to work. You always have the ability to override though by clicking the refresh key. And let us now introduce Kevin, who will be joining me on this webinar series, and he's going to talk you the rest of the way through our agenda. Kevin?
Alrighty, thank you, Jason. So the front page of ServiceNow has various options to it that unfortunately doesn't have a single page for all the settings. Jason thankfully showed us our profile settings. Now what I'm going to start with is our system settings. This is going to be the slightly larger gear wheel in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to bring up an in-frame pop-up that's going to have 4 different settings, and I'm going to start with general. These settings here are pretty basic for what you're going to see in any window that you're working in ServiceNow. The more common of this is going to be your compact user interface. Turning it on reduces the size of everything a little bit. Turning it off, which is the default, increases the size of both the spacing and the text font size. Moving down to theme, we have a various assortment of colors here. I'm not entirely sure who would want to use some of these, but there are a few that are really great and clean.
I really like Flamingo Nights. It's a little Miami Vice. Kevin, what's your favorite color?
You know, I simply have to just go with the contrast UI.
All right.
It's super clean. I'm kind of boring, Windows 95-ish like that.
There you go.
So lists are for text wrapping on your list columns. This is on by default, personal preference for the user. If you get lots of long emails and you don't like to see them wrapped, this is the setting for that. And then forms, we'll show you a little bit of this when we get into incidents in future episodes. what we're looking at right here is there are various information that's presented to you as a part of records in ServiceNow, and by default they're stacked on top of each other. When you go to a tabbed view, it then creates tabs in those records that allow you to view each data set independently without having to scroll down through all of the data. And the related list loading allows you to save some bandwidth when you load an incident and it has related data. In here you can set, is it going to load at the same time that the form does? Is it going to load after all of the form loads, or is it only going to load when you tell it to, which is the on-demand? If you have records that tend to keep a lot of related list stuff, it may behoove you to set on-demand to allow your records to load faster. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the system settings here and move to the front page content. This is your ITIL homepage information. You can see that it's made up of several different widgets, and we have the default ITIL homepage view here. It comes with a graph, and a bar, and a list view, and other tools. You're more than likely going to want to create your own custom one. So as soon as you make a change, it's going to create a new homepage for you, and it's going to call it My ITIL Homepage. But when you want to add content to this, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner an Add Content button. That's going to bring up an in-frame Add Content. Now, there are a huge amount of variables in here. But for today, what we're going to quickly talk about is we're going to show you the filters category, and I'm scrolling in the wrong window. And incident. There we go. So these are all of the incident views that are within ServiceNow, and there are a ton of stuff in here. So you're going to add this, and we'll go to My Open Incidents, and then at the bottom of this frame you have the locations on the homepage of where this new widget's going to land. Here we're just going to staple this right to the very bottom. And you notice as soon as I made a change to the ITIL homepage, it turned us into another My ITIL homepage. But now as we scroll down, you can see that it is added this to the very bottom of the page. And there's the refresh kicking in.
There's that refresh. Working like a champ.
Okay, and of course you're free to click and drag and move these widgets around as needed. The larger the widget, a little slower it is to click and drag. And to remove content, there is a hover over that'll show up in the upper right hand corner of every widget where you can force a refresh for just that one. You can edit it, or you can simply remove it. And it will quickly remove that. And there's no save button. It saves live as soon as you make a change. With the basic homepage covered, we're going to move on to the application navigator on the left-hand side of the page. And this is a list of filters that are default to ServiceNow based on the functionality that you have been given access to. And I'm going to go through and collapse all of them here to show you what it looks like. The common ones you're going to be dealing out of is most likely things like the service desk, incident, reports, and knowledge. Any one of these can be clicked on, and it's going to pull up its own individual page. I'm going to click on My Work, and this is going to pull up this particular filter for My Work. Now, you can't change these filters, but you can bookmark them with the star icon, and that will then deposit it in the favorites. Now, in the favorites here, you have the ability to set your own designs for your filters. You can edit filters in the lower right of this, and you get all sorts of icons and colors to choose from.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a fantastic way to color coordinate your ServiceNow.
Yeah.
So, aside from bookmarking, to create new filters here, you can actually go to the three bars, hamburger, sandwich, whatever you want to call it, in the upper right hand, left hand of the screen here. and you can select Create Favorite. So if you've made a custom modification here, you can then save that in our favorites. Now we're going to go into more details about this, so don't sweat these details here. We've got a future episode for filters and all of the fun variables we can do with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it back over to Jason. He's going to talk about using different home pages to view maybe different sets of data.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, so filters we will cover next week. Filters are a lot like a building block where once you understand filters, a lot of other tools use this sort of filter view that you see at the top of the screen. It can be a little intimidating if you've never played with a filter, but once you get the basic format down, it's really quite easy to quickly and easily sort data. Just if you've never played with filters, it's and, or, is, then, else, if, the usual stuff that you dreaded in logical math back in high school and in college.
I find it a ton of fun. I can't wait till we get to it.
I think Kevin's going to do most of that episode. So as far as cycling home pages go, if you ever want to kind of get back home in a hurry, I always just click in the upper left-hand corner here where it says UC Davis, and that sort of takes you back to your current home page. And you can see the ITIL homepage that Kevin just made moments ago is listed here, but you can also see the one that I currently use, and that is this one, which is a little different from what we previously had set up. I don't like a lot of the graphs. I also don't understand why this is taking more than 5 seconds to load. I think it's because I have a lot of tickets. So this is the format that I prefer. But again, this is personal preference, and that is done by cycling this. In the event that you ever reach a point where you don't like what you've just created, when you're on that page, you can click the bottom gear wheel and then delete that page. When you delete that page, it is gone forever. There's no take-backs, there's no oopsies, there's no recover from deleted items within 30 days. Instead, you'll have to go back to the ITIL homepage and start from scratch, or take the one that you're currently presented with and tweak it from there.
Thankfully, all the widgets are views on existing data. By deleting it, you're not actually getting rid of anything you can't recover record-wise.
Right. Yeah, and that's important. One of the advantages, disadvantages of a cloud environment like ServiceNow, there isn't a, oops, let me go in the trash and recover it. But like Kevin said, the good news is it's very hard, and we've created it this way, for you to delete things to the point where it's a single click to oblivion, which is both for your protection and honestly for our protection, because it's very easy sometimes to click something, but in reality you needed just to be like 15 pixels to the left and you needed to click that thing. So that puts us right at 15 minutes. This, as you can see, is our first sort of collaborative episode. It unfortunately, while it is live streamed, I'm pretty sure in looking at our live stream feed that there isn't anyone actually watching right now. But that's okay. If you can be awesome to an empty house, then you can be awesome to a sold-out house. Our plan, again, every Wednesday from 1 to 1:30. Our current forecast is for 8 episodes, but if this works out, if people like it, Kevin and I like doing it, we'll probably just keep going, and hopefully those of you that choose to participate will enjoy it and learn something, but most importantly, we've created the content, we've put it on the internet, and it will be available in the future. Thanks again for listening to those of you that will visit this in the future. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Me too.
If you want to close out, any closing remarks?
Just be good to your fellow IT admins.
There you go. And that concludes our episode. Thanks again. We appreciate it.